This is the Lightdrop L's, a segment where we share lessons learned. And today, I've got a story about when I should have read the fucking manual, Jamil. All right, so let me tell you about this portion of my life where I was working as electrician helper. So electricians always need somebody to basically follow them, pick up stuff, ladders, just run around pretty much and just do the stuff that they usually just don't want to do themselves. And sometimes you do need help. Obviously, if you're pouring like concrete or if you're busting up a wall to get to a wire. And so it was just like a thing that I was doing. It wasn't like something I had planned to do, but I needed the cash and it was, it was a good job. Like the people there were decent. And we basically have the same we had the same system of like assessing situations. We'd go to a place, look around, we'd read the fucking manual. The manual usually was just this. It looked like an IKEA tablet or IKEA booklet, right? And it was to help us figure out how the different modules worked. So sometimes we'd work on um, like fire safety for apartment buildings, and it would be this red like heavy like um I don't know how to describe it. It's just like this heavy box basically filled with a bunch of sensors we put in the apartment complex. And this was the hardest thing that you would have to do because this has to cover the entire building. It's at the very bottom of the apartment complex, but once it's put in there, that's when people can actually start living there. So it was always like a super hectic thing. And the electricians, I noticed, they always had the same process. After they've installed it or they figured out what's going on, they pick up the book, they look through it for like 3 hours on site, right? Because that's part of the job that they get paid for. And then if they didn't know what to do, they would call somebody. They would either call somebody back in the building that we worked at, or they would call the people who made this equipment, right? And they would just sit there and just like ask questions constantly. So that was just something that I learned. It's like, you know, a lot of these super technical jobs, whether you're working like engineering or you're working as an electrician, you don't have to know every single thing that it takes to get the job done because you're not going to be able to remember a manual. You just got to be able to read through it. You have to be able to recognize what are the different places I need to go to figure out whatever, blah, 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 blah. Right. And that's how these guys would get it done. Right. So this was super insightful to me. Now that we're talking about it, I mean, working in a creative field, you work with all these programs, and you kind of forget that this was made by an engineer, and there's a book somewhere that explains every single button there is, and the only thing you need to know how to do is find out what are the different
Yep.
pieces that you need. That's it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I like that because I've always I've always felt no shame in not wanting to know everything about the software.
yeah,
For example, like the equivalent in in computer graphics and stuff like that. These software tools that we use, they can do a bajillion things. And it's like, as an artist, a lot of times you don't want to you don't want to bother yourself with learning how these things work. You just want to be able to push the button and you have the idea. I just want to like make it do what I want it to do.
yeah.
So yeah, it could be very freeing and relaxing to like remind yourself that I don't need to know how to do it. I just need to know what I want to do
Yeah,
and how to ask
that's enough,
how
right?
to ask for it.
Yeah, because a lot of times
Mhm.
with these, you can, especially with software, you can obviously there's a lot of ways to do the same thing. I think they make that possible on purpose, but there's other things that they don't make easy. So like if you want to learn how to do those, you're gonna have to pick up the manual, basically. Uh,
I think I was working somewhere once um where they had, I believe it was for, it may have even been for Nuke or like Mari or something. They had, obviously, the studio that I was working at had a license for the software, and I think with that, and they had it at a like a very big professional like level, right? It wasn't just some like little indie license. Like they had it for the whole studio, and so they had this good relationship with the company that made Nuke, the foundry, and everything. And I think that they had like, I remember there being a day where people from the software, like the software company, came in and did like a little like presentation or something,
Mhm.
boardroom like presentation, to just kind of walk them through like new features that they added and like stuff that was, you know, things that may have been done a certain way for a while in the software, but they changed XYZ. So now this is a little better way of doing it. And like, um, yeah, man, there's like tools are always changing.
Mhm.
So it's not important to know the tool. It's just important to know how to know the tool.
Yeah, that's it. You don't have to be an expert in everything. You you don't have to put that
Just gotta
pressure on
read
you.
that fucking
All I'm saying
manual.
is read the fucking manual. Uh,